Yeah, so there's a lot of subtlety, but the craziest thing is that, see, anytime we engage in some kind of self-help kind of thing, it actually is a coping mechanism to deal with some negativity within us.
Hi, new realization dropped, guys. I think ego is far beyond being self centered, mean, and arrogant. It can look like trying your best. Let's check how little Lisa was forming her ego to navigate this world. Whenever I was asked, who do you want to be when you grow up, from as early as 6 years old, I remember that question unlocked heavy doors of reality and freed me. I never questioned my potential to reach anything I thought I wanted to be at that moment. I knew I was great. It made me feel powerful and excited to be alive. As any child, I truly enjoyed the play of making myself into the most interesting character in my cartoon. And it came with wanting to be the best. Actually needing to be the best. Because most people clearly overlooked the doors, I loved how special it made me feel, you know? Adults admiring my expression and how unbothered I was if anyone judged my self-belief. Because I was blessed to have more than enough of healthy reinforcement and attention from my parents, my high standards and perfectionism never stemmed from craving validation. The only one I was trying to impress and outgrow was my own ego, and it was never satisfied no matter how well I performed. I created this incompleteness myself and spent most of my life trying to be whole again. I wasn't trying to perform to feel valuable at that time. I truly believed I was the best, and with each year I had to become better and better to keep the same reputation. It really came by nature, it was just how I experienced life, and I couldn't be any other way. If at 15 it was enough to have the best grades and get into one of the most demanding schools in the city, at 16 that vision of great completely lost its meaning, and my idea of better was handmaking and packing orders for my business all night instead of doing homework. My version of outperforming was running far away from the life that was expected from me in the next few years. So from that moment, the ambition was fueled by fear. At some point, my dad even told me I had to slow down and live a little, but I kept running from win to feel a new sense of accomplishment that never came after I took presence and joy out of the equation. And that was the story that I chose to follow as I grew up. So I either win or this isn't the path for me. Anything that is in my purpose should lead to extraordinary wins, not just some kind of acknowledgement. So I either write and it's the best poem the teacher has ever read, or if she doesn't like it, her depth didn't meet mine to understand my art. You know, like this type of Kanye mentality. Anything that was for me would acknowledge and celebrate the depth I brought to the table. If I didn't feel seen in a group or was surrounded by partying, drinking teenagers and felt left out, I never tried to be like, yo guys, I'm cool too, hang out with me. I immediately made decisions to remove myself from systems that weren't 100% real, even if it meant years of isolation. And I applied the same high standards to myself as I applied to people I allowed in my space. And of course, there's no perfection in relationships, but what set the bar high for me was authenticity, vulnerability, and loyalty. If any connection didn't meet the criteria, I left the chat. I never even experienced drama or fights in friendships or relationships. I just didn't allow it to get that far. And same with school. As soon as I realized that more attention was on distraction than on supporting me and my purpose, I dipped. My perfectionism and high standards didn't only encompass my skills and artistic expression. I wanted to have the most meaningful relationships. Anything that wasn't it was cut off immediately. And not in an arrogant, I'm better than you way. I just can't relate to you and force myself to relate to things that matter to you if they don't lead to growth in a supportive and loving environment. And that landed me in a position of a very focused and lonely kid, no matter how many people I surrounded myself with. And this high achiever complex never meant putting down kids around me. I felt like I didn't have to. I just brought myself there and I was good. When performing on stage, I will have the main role and there is no one who can do it better than me. My mission is to carry this show and make it the best by leading it. It sounds super bad, but I swear I didn't come off as annoying or attention-seeking. I literally wasn't trying. I just knew I had to. And I didn't have to make myself the center of attention to feel this way. I never screamed I'm the best. It has always been rather an internal conversation with myself, just looking at myself in the mirror and saying, you're either the best in this room or you're mediocre. And you are not mediocre, so act like you're the best. And of course, as I grew, I stopped fearing to lose in board games and dance competitions, but my definition of a win has changed. It wasn't about being a winner or a loser in a simulated performance. The goal was now to figure out how I can win in the game of life, and that was much scarier because I felt like I couldn't afford taking the wrong turns, because it meant losing. And so I never stopped only choosing extraordinary paths, because I associated them with winning. That's one of the mistakes, by the way. I was barely taking any. The path was extraordinary if I knew I had it in me to become the best there or be surrounded by my people. If it wasn't that, I simply didn't take the opportunity. That's how I missed out on every concert, party, gathering that involved me accepting that it wouldn't lead to taking over the world or making meaningful connections. I didn't allow myself to experience anything that didn't fit the standard of great in my head. Not because I was in love with the vision of great or perfection, but because I was in fear of just being what I am, not sure of my safety and value outside of the past and the future. And factually, my ego was growing. That's how my presence and play began to fade away. It was more freeing than ever to realize it wasn't only available to me. There was more than one main role in the play, and there were more people not willing to settle for the standard. There were people who genuinely got what I was saying and wanted to do it with me. Everyone had the key, and I didn't want to open the doors alone. I never wanted to open the doors alone. I was nothing special. I knew it, but I gained so much freedom through that realization. I felt like if I found my people with similar mind settings, we would never have to feel misunderstood or too intense, and the play could be led with some actual grounded values and morals, and some real love and ambition. And what if the art we could create and the presence we could accumulate could literally change the world? So this was my new definition of perfection, or a win. That was the dream. That's why when someone asks me, what's your dream now? I usually say, I want to go to Hawaii, because literally try explaining all that iCarly shit to someone you just met. You know, gonna make history with creativity. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, what I kept doing was I kept aiming unrealistically high and reaching destinations that seemed super scary and unreachable. No one's admiration or reaction to my accomplishments really bothered me, which proved I really wasn't doing it for validation. And I was shocked to find out human ego doesn't manifest itself in the stereotypical cartoon or evil way. Like, you don't have to be arrogant, push people away, lie, steal, and cheat your way to success. All you need to do to become further from God and really identify with the ego is to step away from the present moment. Just get lost in past, future, regret, and chase, and you're there. Aimless, exhausted, and isolated. It feels unfair, doesn't it? Because you never expected to be rewarded with unfulfillment for years of hard work, sacrifice, and focus. Yet here you are, with purest intentions in your heart, studying yourself, being the biblically accurate self-improvement girl, being humble, giving more than you receive, and still not complete. Dr. Huberman, explain yourself. That was pure terrified ego. And I recently realized ego was never what I thought it was. Embrace yourself for this definition. Ego is a false self-defense mechanism. Boom. That's it. Literally, I felt unsafe all my life. Anyway, any moment in which you create a false sense of security, which can be, through addiction, doing your best, outperforming, anything, you do it in order to protect yourself from what ego fears the most, the present moment. So the closer you come to the state of simply being, the more you lose the awareness of who you are, beyond name and form. And that's a terrifying place for your ego to exist, as its main role is to ground you within the frame of time and space. So as soon as you become the watcher of this terrified ego, the more you begin to understand the continuous sense of threat you've been living in your whole life. It was false, as well as this abandonment and incompleteness. No matter what you accomplish, you will never satisfy the ego. There will always be another high to chase. And as soon as childlike excitement about just being presently the best is out of the picture, you drown deeper into avoidance of the now. You understand what you are running away from. Perfectionism isn't rooted in the love of perfection. Its origins are deeply hidden in your biggest fears and doubts. What is there outside of accomplishments? just being. And it scared me so much. Like, I couldn't grasp the level of trust I had to build in God to let myself flow, instead of standing in my own way with the amount of things I was trying to do and outperform my expectations. So I came to a new understanding of ego and God. So instead of only taking roads that I knew I had all the means to be extraordinary in, and only allowing myself to experience people with my pattern of vision, I stopped asking God for blessings through my own limitations. I just want to bring back play. I want to remember how it feels to be great without trying, just write and rhyme, travel and explore. I love this iCarly shit. Maybe the present is where you're the most powerful if you stop lying to yourself and face your actual feelings of unsafety. You find God through breaking of your plan and intent, no matter how pure you thought it was. So I guess my job is to simply play.